Have you ever caught yourself trapped in a loop of thoughts, replaying situations, or worrying about things you can't control? You're not alone. Overthinking is something we all experience, but it doesn't have to control your life. Today, we're going to explore 10 simple strategies inspired by Stoic philosophy that can help you detox your mind and stop overthinking. Let me tell you about a guy named Jake. Jake had everything going for him on the surface: a good job, great friends, and a comfortable life. But there was one thing he struggled with. His mind wouldn't stop racing. He spent hours replaying conversations, stressing over minor details, and worrying about things he couldn't change. It was exhausting. No matter how much he tried to relax, his thoughts kept pulling him back into that endless cycle. One day, Jake came across a book on Stoicism, and something clicked. The idea that he could train his mind, like a muscle, to let go of what he couldn't control and focus on what he could. It was a revelation. He started applying some simple Stoic techniques: deep breathing, mindfulness, and filtering out the unnecessary. Slowly but surely, his mind began to quiet down. He stopped obsessing over the small stuff and found peace in the present moment. In this episode, we're going to dive into strategies like the ones Jake used, all rooted in Stoic wisdom, to help you stop overthinking and regain control over your mental space. So, grab a coffee, settle in, and let's get started on this journey to a clearer mind. And don't forget, if you enjoy this episode, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it today. 1. Let it go. The art of releasing what's beyond your control. One of the biggest sources of overthinking is holding on to things we can't control. It's something we all fall into, and it drains our mental energy, leaving us feeling anxious and overwhelmed. Whether it's replaying an awkward conversation, worrying about how someone perceives you, or stressing over future outcomes that haven't even happened, overthinking these uncontrollable aspects of life can become a never-ending loop. The more we try to analyze, fix, or prepare for every possible outcome, the more we lose touch with what's happening in the present. That's where Stoicism comes to the rescue, reminding us of one of its core teachings: let it go. In Stoic philosophy, this idea of letting go isn't about giving up or being passive. It's about focusing your mental energy on things within your control and releasing everything else. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, distilled this lesson into one simple phrase: some things are up to us, and some things are not. What's within our control? Our thoughts, actions, and how we choose to respond to situations. What's not in our control? Other people's opinions, the actions of others, and external outcomes. The Stoics believed that peace of mind comes from understanding this distinction and not wasting energy on things outside our influence. It's easier said than done, though, right? In modern life, we're constantly bombarded with things we feel we should control. Social media pressures us to curate a perfect image. Work pushes us to meet never-ending demands. And even our personal relationships can leave us feeling like we need to manage everyone's perceptions of us. It's no wonder overthinking becomes a habit. But letting go of the things you can't control is like dropping a weight off your shoulders, a weight you didn't even realize you were carrying. Once you begin to practice this shift in mindset, you'll notice a significant change in how you feel. Let's break it down into a real-world example. Imagine you've just completed a big presentation at work. You spent days preparing, rehearsing, and doing everything in your power to make it perfect. But now that it's over, instead of feeling relief, your mind is spinning with doubts. Did I stumble over a few words? Did my boss seem unimpressed? Why did someone in the back seem distracted? These are all questions you have no control over now. The presentation is done, and what others think about it is beyond your influence. Yet, overthinking these things keeps you locked in a mental prison, revisiting the situation over and over. This is where Epictetus's lesson becomes invaluable. Accept that you did what you could, and now it's time to let go of the rest. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or refusing to learn from mistakes. Instead, it's about recognizing the limits of your influence. You can control your preparation and effort, but once the presentation is done, the outcome is no longer in your hands. The stress of overthinking comes from trying to control things after the fact, which leads to frustration and mental exhaustion. Here's a practical way to start applying this idea. The next time you catch yourself spiraling into overthinking, stop and ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is yes, then focus on what you can do. If the answer is no, then practice letting it go. This can be as simple as taking a deep breath and reminding yourself that you've done your best, and now it's out of your hands. Over time, this practice becomes more intuitive. Just like Jake, who we mentioned in the introduction, you'll start to recognize that most of the things that keep you up at night are outside your control. Letting go of these worries allows you to reclaim your mental energy and focus on what truly matters: your actions, your mindset, and how you choose to show up in the present moment. One common misconception about Stoicism is that it encourages indifference or detachment, but that's not the case. The Stoics didn't advocate for apathy. Rather, they taught that we should care deeply about the things we can influence: our character, our values, and our actions, while accepting that we cannot control everything around us. Letting go of what's beyond our control doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop wasting energy on things we can't change, which gives us the freedom to focus on what really matters. Think of it this way: if your mind is like a garden, overthinking is like letting weeds take over. These weeds, unnecessary worries, thoughts about other people's opinions, or concerns about the future, choke out the healthy plants. But when you practice letting go, you start weeding out those distractions, giving space for the things that truly nourish your mind. You start to notice more clarity, more focus, and a sense of inner peace that comes from accepting life's uncertainties. Now, let's talk about a real-life exercise you can try today. Pick a situation that's been bothering you, something that keeps popping into your mind. Maybe it's a comment someone made, a decision you're unsure about, or an event that didn't go as planned. Write it down, and then ask yourself, is this something I have control over? If the answer is yes, make a plan to take action on what you can influence. If the answer is no, write down why you can't control it and practice releasing it. You can even go a step further and remind yourself that letting go is a way to free your mind for more productive and meaningful thoughts. The beauty of Stoic philosophy is that it's practical. The more you practice these techniques, the more natural they become. Soon you'll find that your mind starts to detox on its own. You'll stop holding on to things that don't serve you, and you'll feel lighter, more focused, and more in control of your life. In conclusion, learning to let go is one of the most powerful mental detox strategies you can apply. It frees up your mind, reduces stress, and allows you to focus on the things that truly matter. By embracing this Stoic principle, you're taking the first step toward mastering your thoughts and living with greater peace. So the next time you catch yourself overthinking, remember, let it go. 2. Take a minute of silence. Give yourself a moment to reset. In today's fast-paced world, silence is a rare commodity. We're constantly bombarded by noise, emails pinging, social media notifications, people talking, traffic, and the endless hum of life. It's no wonder our minds often feel like they're on overdrive. One of the simplest yet most powerful strategies to detox your mind and stop overthinking is to embrace silence. Just taking a single minute of silence can create a profound shift in how you feel and think. The Stoics, particularly Marcus Aurelius, were huge advocates of finding moments of stillness. In his famous Meditations, Aurelius often reminded himself to withdraw into his inner mind, to find calm amidst the chaos of daily life. He wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." This quote captures the essence of Stoic thought. True peace isn't about escaping your circumstances, but about creating a mental sanctuary where you can find clarity, even when life feels overwhelming. Let's face it, we're all guilty of overloading ourselves with information and tasks. We feel the need to stay constantly connected, constantly productive, and constantly available. But this never-ending stream of input can lead to mental burnout. Our brains are not designed to process information non-stop without breaks. That's why overthinking sets in. The mind becomes cluttered with too much data, and without a moment of quiet, it struggles to sort through it all. Imagine a glass of water filled with dirt. If you keep stirring it, the water remains murky, making it impossible to see through. But if you let the glass sit still, the dirt will settle at the bottom, leaving the water clear. The same goes for your mind. Constant thinking is like stirring up that dirt, keeping your thoughts unclear and jumbled. But a moment of silence allows your thoughts to settle, giving you the clarity and calm you need. Let's look at a real-life example. Think about a time when you were overwhelmed at work. Emails piling up, deadlines looming, and your to-do list never-ending. In those moments, it's tempting to keep pushing through, hoping that if you just work harder or longer, things will get better. But what often happens? You burn out and your productivity tanks. That's where silence comes in. Taking even 1 minute to step away from the chaos, close your eyes, and sit in stillness can reset your mind and give you the mental clarity you need to tackle the challenges ahead. Here's a simple practice you can start today. The next time you feel overwhelmed or caught in a cycle of overthinking, stop everything for just 1 minute. Turn off your phone, step away from your screen, and find a quiet spot. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just sit in silence. Don't try to force your thoughts away, just let them be. Notice the quiet around you and the quiet within you. This minute of silence is like hitting the reset button on your brain. It gives your mind a break from the constant noise and allows you to regain focus. Over time, you can extend this practice to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or even longer. The goal isn't to meditate for hours on end, but to incorporate small moments of stillness into your day. These moments help you step back, breathe, and reset your mind. The beauty of this practice is that you can do it anywhere, at your desk, in your car, or even while walking. The important part is giving yourself permission to pause and reset. The Stoics believed that these moments of stillness were essential to living a balanced life. They didn't advocate for escaping the world or retreating from responsibility, but they understood the need for mental recovery. Just as our bodies need rest to recover from physical exertion, our minds need rest to recover from constant thinking. Silence provides that rest. It's also worth noting that silence doesn't just benefit you in the moment. It has long-term effects on your mental health. Research has shown that regular moments of silence or mindfulness can reduce anxiety, improve concentration, and even enhance creativity. When your mind is constantly stimulated, it becomes difficult to focus on what's important. But by taking regular breaks to sit in silence, you allow your brain to process information more effectively, leading to clearer thinking and better decision-making. Silence also strengthens your resilience. Life is full of stressors, work, relationships, unexpected challenges, and it's easy to get swept up in the noise. But when you practice finding silence within yourself, you develop the ability to stay calm in the midst of chaos. You're no longer reacting to every little thing that happens. Instead, you're able to step back, take a breath, and respond with clarity and intention. Let's tie this back to a Stoic principle. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of self-discipline, particularly when it came to controlling one's reactions to external events. He believed that by cultivating inner stillness, we could prevent ourselves from being overwhelmed by the world around us. Silence is one way to build that inner stillness. When you practice it regularly, you create a mental space where you can retreat and find peace, no matter what's happening in your external environment. A good example of this is dealing with conflict. When someone says something that upsets you, your immediate reaction might be to snap back or defend yourself. But by taking a moment of silence, you give yourself the opportunity to pause, reflect, and choose a more thoughtful response. This small moment of stillness can prevent unnecessary arguments and help you handle difficult situations with more grace and wisdom. To put it simply, silence is a tool for mental detox. It clears out the noise, helps you refocus, and gives your mind the space it needs to function at its best. The next time you feel overwhelmed, take a minute to reset with silence. You'll find that this simple practice can make a big difference in how you approach the rest of your day. In conclusion, while it might seem like a small step, embracing moments of silence can have a profound effect on your mental clarity and overall well-being. It's a simple yet powerful way to detox your mind and stop overthinking. So, next time the world feels too loud, remember that you always have the option to pause, breathe, and find stillness within yourself. 3. Detox your mind with Stoic philosophy. Use Stoicism to cleanse your mental clutter. When you think about detoxing your mind, you might picture relaxation techniques like meditation or deep breathing. While those are great tools, another incredibly effective way to clear mental clutter is through Stoic philosophy itself. Stoicism offers a framework for organizing your thoughts, cutting through the noise, and focusing on what truly matters. By applying the wisdom of ancient Stoics, you can declutter your mind, reduce overthinking, and approach life with greater clarity and purpose. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that most of the stress we experience comes from the way we think about things, not the things themselves. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple idea has profound implications. Much of the mental clutter we carry around is the result of attaching unnecessary significance to events, worries, and thoughts. Stoic philosophy helps us strip away those layers and see things as they really are, rather than how our minds inflate them. Let's start by understanding what mental clutter is. It's the overthinking, the constant loop of worries, fears, and what-ifs that run through your mind. It's the unnecessary analysis of situations that don't need such deep thought. It's the emotional baggage we hold on to, grudges, regrets, or anxieties about things that are out of our control. All of this mental clutter consumes your energy and clouds your judgment. The Stoics believed that we could train ourselves to see things more clearly by distinguishing between what is within our control and what is not, then focusing only on the former. Here's how you can start using Stoic principles to detox your mind. First, practice dichotomy of control, the Stoic concept that everything in life falls into one of two categories: things you can control and things you cannot. For example, you can't control the weather, other people's actions, or the outcomes of events that have already occurred. But you can control how you respond, what you focus on, and the actions you take moving forward. Take a practical example. Let's say you've been overthinking a conversation you had with a coworker. Maybe you're worried that you said something wrong or that they misinterpreted your words. But here's the thing. You can't control how your coworker interprets what you said. What's done is done. What you can control is how you handle the situation moving forward. Instead of letting that conversation replay endlessly in your mind, you can choose to clarify with them if needed, or let it go entirely. This is the Stoic way of cleansing your mind, by focusing on the actions you can take and releasing the rest. Another powerful Stoic technique for clearing mental clutter is negative visualization. This might sound counterintuitive, but it's one of the most effective tools for reducing anxiety and overthinking. The Stoics practiced imagining the worst-case scenario, not to dwell on it, but to prepare themselves mentally. By contemplating the possibility of things going wrong, they were able to reduce the fear of uncertainty and approach challenges with a calm, clear mind. For example, let's say you're overthinking a big presentation at work. You're worried about stumbling over your words, forgetting key points, or being judged by your audience. Instead of letting those fears spiral, try applying negative visualization. Imagine the worst-case scenario. You stumble over a word, or perhaps your technology fails. Now ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Will you lose your job? Probably not. Will people think less of you? Maybe for a moment, but it's unlikely to have long-term consequences. Once you've faced the worst in your mind, it becomes less frightening, and you can approach the situation with a clearer, more focused mindset. One of the reasons Stoicism is so effective for detoxing your mind is that it encourages you to think in a way that's grounded in reality. Our minds tend to blow things out of proportion. An awkward conversation becomes a catastrophe. A minor mistake feels like the end of the world. But the Stoics remind us to keep things in perspective. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, frequently wrote to himself in his meditations to keep things simple and clear. He would remind himself that you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By focusing on what's real and tangible, Stoicism helps you cut through the mental clutter and find peace in the present moment. Another important Stoic practice is journaling. The Stoics were big on self-reflection, and many of their greatest teachings come from the personal journals they kept. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations for an audience. He wrote them as a way to organize his thoughts, reflect on his actions, and clear his mind. You can do the same. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to write down your thoughts, your worries, and your successes. Reflect on what you could control and what you couldn't, and let go of the things that are beyond your influence. Journaling helps you detox your mind by getting your thoughts out of your head and onto paper. It creates mental space, allowing you to process your feelings and clear out the unnecessary worries that might be weighing you down. Plus, it gives you a record of your progress. Over time, you'll see how your mindset has evolved and how much mental clutter you've managed to clear away. Stoicism also teaches the importance of focusing on the present moment. So much of our mental clutter comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. The Stoics remind us that the only time we truly have is the present. By grounding yourself in the here and now, you reduce the temptation to overthink and worry about things that are out of your control. Marcus Aurelius advised himself, "Confine yourself to the present." When you find your mind racing with thoughts about what could have been or what might happen, remind yourself to return to the present moment. This mindfulness practice is a powerful tool for mental clarity and peace. Finally, one of the most liberating Stoic practices for detoxing your mind is acceptance. The Stoics were masters of accepting life as it is, without wishing for it to be different. This doesn't mean complacency. It means recognizing that certain things are beyond your control and making peace with that reality. Epictetus taught that suffering comes not from the events themselves, but from our judgment of those events. When you accept things as they are, you stop overthinking and start living with more freedom and joy. In conclusion, Stoicism is more than just a philosophy. It's a practical tool for mental detox. By applying its principles, you can clear your mind of unnecessary worries, reduce overthinking, and focus on what truly matters. Start by practicing the dichotomy of control, using negative visualization, journaling, and grounding yourself in the present moment. You'll find that your mind feels lighter, more focused, and better equipped to handle whatever life throws your way. 4. Make 3 daily decisions. Simplify your day by focusing on key choices. When you think about it, one of the major contributors to overthinking is decision fatigue. From the moment we wake up, we're faced with a barrage of choices: what to wear, what to eat, which tasks to prioritize, how to respond to emails, and the list goes on. Each choice demands mental energy, and by the end of the day, we're often left feeling mentally drained and overwhelmed. One simple but powerful Stoic-inspired strategy to combat this is to focus on just 3 key decisions each day. By simplifying your decision-making process, you'll free up mental space and avoid the stress that comes from overthinking every little thing. Now, this doesn't mean you can ignore all of your responsibilities or avoid making decisions altogether. What it does mean is that you prioritize. The Stoics were all about living with intention and purpose, and one way to do that is by identifying the most important things you need to accomplish each day. Rather than getting lost in the hundreds of small, often insignificant choices we face, you focus on what really matters. Think of it like this: if you had to choose just 3 things that would make your day feel successful, what would they be? Maybe it's finishing a key project at work, spending quality time with your family, or taking care of your health by going for a run. By narrowing your focus to these 3 decisions, you eliminate the mental clutter that comes from trying to do everything at once. Let's break it down with an example. Imagine you're starting your workday and your to-do list is a mile long. You've got emails to respond to, meetings to attend, deadlines to meet, and tasks piling up. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, and that's where overthinking starts to creep in. You might spend more time thinking about what to do next than actually getting anything done. But if you follow the 3-decision rule, you simplify your day. Instead of trying to tackle everything at once, you choose 3 key tasks that will move you forward. The rest can either wait or be handled after you've completed these top priorities. For example, you might decide: 1. Finish your presentation for tomorrow's meeting. 2. Follow up with a key client. 3. Spend 30 minutes brainstorming ideas for a new project. By focusing on these 3 decisions, you give yourself a clear path for the day. Everything else becomes secondary, and you avoid the paralysis that comes from trying to juggle too many things at once. This approach not only reduces overthinking, but also increases your productivity because you're laser-focused on what truly matters. This idea of simplifying your day aligns perfectly with Stoic philosophy. The Stoics believed in focusing on what's essential and letting go of the rest. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote about the importance of stripping away the unnecessary, both in thought and action. He encouraged himself to focus on what was truly important, writing, "Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary?" By asking this simple question, you can eliminate distractions and focus on what's essential, both in your day and in your life. There's another powerful benefit to this approach. It helps you build momentum. When you limit your focus to 3 key decisions, you're more likely to complete those tasks, which gives you a sense of accomplishment. This feeling of progress fuels your motivation, making it easier to tackle the next task or challenge. On the other hand, when you try to do too much at once, you risk spreading yourself too thin, which leads to frustration and, often, overthinking. Now, you might be wondering, but what about all the other things I need to do? The beauty of this approach is that it doesn't ignore the smaller tasks. They'll still get done. But by prioritizing your top 3 decisions, you create a structure for your day that ensures the most important things are taken care of first. Once you've completed your 3 key tasks, you can move on to other, less critical decisions without feeling overwhelmed. Another way to implement this strategy is by applying it to different areas of your life. For example, you can make 3 key decisions for your workday, 3 for your personal life, and 3 for your self-care. Maybe your work decisions are about finishing a report, meeting with a colleague, and organizing your schedule. Your personal decisions might include spending time with your partner, calling a friend, and running an errand. And your self-care decisions could involve exercising, eating a healthy meal, and taking time to relax. By structuring your day around these 3 key decisions, you're able to maintain balance and avoid feeling like you're constantly playing catch-up. This method isn't just about productivity, it's about mental clarity. When you focus on a limited number of decisions, your mind has room to breathe, and you avoid the overwhelm that comes from trying to do too much at once. Let's take a moment to consider how this approach relates to decision fatigue, which is a real psychological phenomenon. Decision fatigue occurs when we make too many choices in a short period of time, leading to poorer decision-making as the day goes on. It's why we often find ourselves making impulsive decisions or feeling mentally exhausted after a long day of constant choices. By limiting yourself to 3 key decisions, you conserve your mental energy and avoid the fatigue that comes from overloading your brain with too many choices. The Stoics didn't have the term decision fatigue, but they understood the importance of conserving mental energy. They believed in using your resources, whether physical or mental, wisely and with purpose. This aligns perfectly with the idea of focusing on 3 key decisions each day. You're choosing to spend your mental energy on the things that matter most, rather than scattering it across dozens of small, less important choices. Here's a practical tip for making this work. Start your day by writing down the 3 most important things you need to accomplish. These can be big or small, but they should be things that, by the end of the day, will make you feel like you've made meaningful progress. As you go through your day, focus on these tasks first. Once they're done, you'll not only feel a sense of accomplishment, But you'll also have cleared your mental space for the smaller, less critical decisions that might come your way. In conclusion, focusing on 3 daily decisions is a simple but effective way to detox your mind from overthinking. By simplifying your day and prioritizing what truly matters, you reduce mental clutter, avoid decision fatigue, and increase your productivity. This Stoic-inspired strategy helps you stay focused, maintain balance, and achieve more by doing less. So tomorrow morning, ask yourself, what are the 3 most important decisions I need to make today? Then watch how this simple shift transforms the way you approach your day. 5. Filter your thoughts. Weed out the unnecessary and keep only. What matters your mind is like a garden. If you don't tend to it regularly, weeds will grow, those negative, unnecessary or unproductive thoughts that clutter your mind and make it harder to focus. Just like a gardener has to pull weeds to allow the healthy plants to grow, you need to filter out the thoughts that don't serve you. This practice, inspired by Stoicism, helps you declutter your mind, reduce overthinking, and cultivate the kind of thoughts that lead to a more peaceful, focused life. One of the key teachings of Stoicism is the idea that not all thoughts deserve your attention. In fact, many of the thoughts that occupy your mind throughout the day are unnecessary distractions. Whether it's worrying about what others think of you, replaying past mistakes, or getting lost in hypothetical scenarios, these thoughts can quickly spiral into overthinking. The Stoics believed that by filtering out these unproductive thoughts, you could focus on what truly matters, living according to your values and achieving peace of mind. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself to keep his thoughts simple and focused on what is within his control. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Therefore, guard accordingly, and take care that you entertain no notions unsuitable to virtue and reasonable nature." This Stoic principle can be a powerful tool in detoxing your mind. By actively filtering your thoughts, you create mental space for clarity, purpose, and positive action. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you're driving to work and your mind starts wandering. You begin thinking about a conversation you had with a friend last week. Did you say something wrong? Are they upset with you? Maybe they didn't text you back because they're angry. Suddenly, you're caught in a loop of overthinking that distracts you from the present moment and fills your mind with unnecessary worry. In reality, there's no evidence that your friend is upset. These thoughts are based on assumptions and fears, not facts. This is exactly the kind of mental clutter that Stoicism teaches us to filter out. Here's how you can apply this Stoic practice to your daily life. When you notice your mind wandering into unproductive thoughts, stop and ask yourself a simple question. Does this thought serve me? If the answer is no, it's time to filter it out. You don't need to entertain every thought that pops into your head. Just like a gardener pulls weeds to protect their plants, you need to pull the mental weeds that are taking up space in your mind. By doing this, you're creating room for thoughts that are constructive, meaningful, and aligned with your values. The idea isn't to suppress or ignore your thoughts. After all, thoughts will always come and go. Instead, the goal is to become more intentional about which thoughts you engage with and which ones you let go. This practice requires mindfulness and self-awareness, both of which are core aspects of Stoicism. By being mindful of your thoughts, you can catch yourself when you start spiraling into overthinking and gently bring your focus back to what's important. Another Stoic strategy for filtering your thoughts is to practice cognitive distancing. This technique involves stepping back from your thoughts and observing them from a neutral perspective rather than getting caught up in them. The Stoics believed that just because you have a thought doesn't mean it's true or important. By practicing cognitive distancing, you create a mental gap between yourself and your thoughts, which allows you to evaluate them more objectively. For instance, let's say you're preparing for a big presentation and you start thinking, "I'm going to mess this up. I always get nervous. What if I forget what to say?" These thoughts are based on fear, not reality. By applying cognitive distancing, you can take a step back and observe these thoughts without letting them control you. You might say to yourself, "I notice that I'm having the thought that I'm going to mess this up." But that's just a thought, not a fact. This practice helps you detach from the negative narrative in your mind and refocus on the task at hand. Filtering your thoughts also ties into the Stoic principle of focusing on what is within your control. Many of the thoughts that lead to overthinking are about things that are entirely outside of your influence. You might be worrying about how someone else feels, what might happen in the future, or replaying something that's already happened in the past. The Stoics remind us that we can't control these things, but we can control our thoughts, our actions, and our attitudes. By focusing on what you can control, you reduce the mental clutter caused by obsessing over things that are out of your hands. A great exercise to practice this is called the thought audit. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to reflect on the thoughts that occupied your mind throughout the day. Write them down and categorize them into two groups: thoughts that were helpful and productive, and thoughts that were unhelpful or unnecessary. This exercise helps you become more aware of the kind of thoughts you're entertaining and gives you a clear picture of what mental clutter you need to filter out. As you practice filtering your thoughts, you'll notice that your mind becomes clearer, your decision-making improves, and you're able to focus more on what truly matters. Over time, this mental clarity becomes second nature, and you'll find yourself engaging less with unproductive thoughts and more with thoughts that serve your goals and well-being. Let's tie this back to another Stoic principle: living in accordance with nature. The Stoics believed that to live a good life, you must align your thoughts and actions with reason and virtue. When your mind is cluttered with unnecessary thoughts, it's difficult to live according to this principle. By filtering out the mental noise, you create space for rational, virtuous thinking that aligns with your true nature. In conclusion, filtering your thoughts is a powerful way to detox your mind and stop overthinking. By weeding out the thoughts that don't serve you and focusing on what truly matters, you can create mental clarity, reduce stress, and live with greater intention. Remember, just because a thought enters your mind doesn't mean it deserves your attention. Be like the gardener who carefully tends to their garden, removing the weeds so that the healthy plants can flourish. Your mind works the same way. When you clear out the mental clutter, you make room for growth, clarity, and peace. 6. Less social media, more real life. Cut down on screen time and focus on real experiences. In today's digital age, it's incredibly easy to get lost in social media, whether it's scrolling through Instagram, checking Twitter updates, or diving into YouTube videos. We often don't realize how much time we're spending staring at our screens. Social media promises connection and entertainment, but more often than not, it leads to mental clutter, overthinking, and a sense of disconnection from real life. One of the most effective ways to detox your mind is to reduce your screen time and focus on real-life experiences that bring you genuine joy and fulfillment. From a Stoic perspective, constantly checking social media is the opposite of living with intention. The Stoics believed in focusing on the present moment and engaging with what's in front of you, rather than getting caught up in distractions. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This quote reminds us to stop wasting time on things that don't matter and to live with purpose and action. Social media often pulls us away from that sense of purpose, filling our minds with unnecessary comparisons, distractions, and information that doesn't serve us. Let's talk about why social media contributes to overthinking. One of the main issues is that it exposes us to a never-ending stream of information, most of which is irrelevant to our lives. Whether it's news, gossip, or updates on what other people are doing, we're constantly bombarded with things that pull our attention in different directions. It's no wonder that after spending time on social media, our minds feel scattered and exhausted. We're not just consuming content, we're also subconsciously comparing ourselves to others, worrying about what people think, and questioning whether we're doing enough in our own lives. Take a simple example. You're scrolling through Instagram, and you see a friend's post about their new job or recent vacation. At first, you might feel happy for them, but then the comparisons start. Why am I not traveling more? Shouldn't I be further along in my career? What am I doing wrong? Suddenly, what started as a harmless scroll through social media has triggered a spiral of self-doubt and overthinking. This is exactly the kind of mental clutter that Stoicism encourages us to avoid. The Stoics taught that we should focus on what we can control and let go of everything else. When it comes to social media, most of what we see is completely outside of our control. We can't control other people's opinions, achievements, or lives, but we can control how much time we spend on social media and how much mental energy we give to it. By reducing our screen time and limiting our social media use, we create more space in our minds for real-life experiences that bring us joy, fulfillment, and personal growth. So how do you start cutting down on social media? The key is to be intentional about it. You don't have to quit cold turkey, but you can start by setting boundaries around your screen time. For example, you might decide to limit your social media use to 30 minutes a day, or you could designate specific times of the day when you check your accounts, like in the evening after work or during a lunch break. The important thing is that you're conscious of how much time you're spending online and that you're making a deliberate choice about it, rather than mindlessly scrolling whenever you have a spare moment. Another practical tip is to take social media breaks. This could be as simple as choosing one day a week to go completely offline, or it could mean taking longer breaks during vacation or weekends. These breaks give your mind the chance to rest, reset, and reconnect with the real world around you. You'll be amazed at how much more present you feel when you're not constantly checking your phone for updates. Let's consider how cutting back on social media aligns with the Stoic principle of living in accordance with nature. The Stoics believed that human beings are naturally social creatures who thrive on meaningful face-to-face interactions. While social media might give the illusion of connection, it's not the same as building real, deep relationships with the people around you. When you reduce your screen time, you free up mental space to engage in more meaningful interactions, whether it's spending time with family and friends, meeting new people, or simply enjoying solitude without the distraction of a screen. One of the most harmful effects of social media is the constant comparison it fuels. The Stoics were big on avoiding comparison because they believed that true contentment comes from within, not from measuring ourselves against others. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." This is especially true when we compare ourselves to the highlight reels we see on social media. People only share the best parts of their lives online, which can make us feel like we're falling behind or missing out. But the reality is, everyone faces struggles and challenges that they don't post about. By stepping back from social media, you give yourself the space to focus on your own journey, without the constant pressure to keep up with others. There's another powerful benefit to reducing screen time: increased mindfulness. When you're not constantly distracted by your phone, you're able to be more present in the moment. You start to notice the little things, like the sound of birds outside your window, the taste of your morning coffee, or the way the sunlight filters through the trees. These moments of mindfulness bring a sense of peace and joy that social media can never provide. The Stoics often wrote about the importance of appreciating life's simple pleasures, and by cutting back on screen time, you create more opportunities to do just that. Reducing social media use also helps you reclaim your time. How many times have you sat down to check your phone for just a minute, only to realize that half an hour or more has passed? Social media is designed to be addictive, pulling you in and keeping you there with endless updates and notifications. But when you take control of your screen time, you gain back those precious minutes and hours. You can use that time to do things that truly enrich your life, whether it's reading, exercising, spending time with loved ones, or pursuing a passion. Finally, cutting down on social media helps you stay aligned with the Stoic practice of focusing on what you can control. When you spend less time worrying about what others are doing or how they perceive you online, you free up mental energy to focus on your own growth, goals, and values. You stop being reactive to external pressures and start living in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling. In conclusion, less social media means more real life. By cutting down on screen time and focusing on meaningful, real-world experiences, you detox your mind from the clutter that social media creates. You reduce overthinking, stop unnecessary comparisons, and reconnect with what truly matters. So, the next time you find yourself reaching for your phone, take a moment to ask yourself, is this really adding value to my life? If not, it might be time to step back and focus on the real world around you. 7. Breathe and reset. Practice. Deep breathing to reset your mind and regain focus. When life gets overwhelming and your mind starts to race with overthinking, one of the simplest and most effective tools to calm yourself is right under your nose, literally. Deep breathing is a powerful way to reset your mind, regain focus, and detox the mental clutter that builds up throughout the day. By focusing on your breath, you create a pause in the chaos, allowing your mind to slow down, your body to relax, and your thoughts to clear. The Stoics, while they didn't specifically teach breathing exercises as we know them today, understood the importance of taking a step back and finding stillness in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic Roman emperor, often reminded himself to return to the present when his thoughts became scattered. He wrote, "Take a deep breath, clear your mind, and remember, you are in control of your thoughts." This simple but profound idea can be applied to the practice of deep breathing, which allows you to take control of your mental state, reset your focus, and stop the overthinking cycle. Deep breathing works because it taps into the body's natural relaxation response. When you breathe deeply, you send signals to your brain that it's time to calm down, which reduces the levels of stress hormones like cortisol in your system. This not only helps you feel more relaxed, but also improves your ability to think clearly and focus on what's important. By incorporating deep breathing into your daily routine, you give yourself a powerful tool for managing stress, reducing anxiety, and clearing mental clutter. Let's break down why this works. When you're stressed or overwhelmed, your body goes into fight or flight mode, a natural response to perceived threats that triggers shallow, rapid breathing. This kind of breathing sends signals to your brain that you're in danger, which in turn heightens your stress levels and makes it harder to think clearly. It's a vicious cycle. Stress leads to shallow breathing, which leads to more stress and overthinking. But deep breathing breaks this cycle. By slowing down your breath, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for rest and relaxation. This helps you shift out of fight or flight mode and into a calmer, more focused state of mind. Let's look at a practical example. Imagine you're in the middle of a stressful situation. Maybe you're about to give a presentation and your mind is racing with worries. What if I mess up? What if I forget something? These thoughts can quickly spiral into overthinking, making it even harder to stay calm and focused. But by taking a few deep breaths, you can reset your mind and calm your nerves. Try this. Inhale slowly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. Then exhale slowly through your mouth for another count of 4. Repeat this for a minute or two, and you'll feel your heart rate slow down and your mind start to clear. This simple breathing exercise, often called box breathing, is used by everyone from athletes to Navy SEALs to manage stress and improve focus. It's incredibly effective because it forces you to focus on your breath, which pulls your attention away from the racing thoughts in your mind. By concentrating on the rhythm of your breathing, you create a mental space that allows you to reset and approach the situation with a calmer, clearer mind. Another benefit of deep breathing is that it helps you stay grounded in the present moment. So much of our overthinking comes from dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. But the Stoics remind us that the only moment we truly have is the present. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." When you practice deep breathing, you're anchoring yourself in the here and now, which helps to reduce the mental clutter that comes from thinking too far ahead or replaying past events. Incorporating deep breathing into your daily routine doesn't have to be complicated. You can practice it anytime, anywhere, whether you're at your desk, on your commute, or even while taking a short break during a busy day. The beauty of deep breathing is that it's always available to you as a tool for resetting your mind. You don't need any special equipment or a quiet space, although that can help. All you need is a few minutes and the intention to slow down and breathe. One of the great things about deep breathing is that it not only clears your mind, but also improves your physical well-being. Research has shown that deep breathing can lower blood pressure, reduce anxiety, improve digestion, and even boost your immune system. By calming your nervous system and reducing stress, you're not just detoxing your mind, you're improving your overall health. Another practical breathing technique you can try is called 4-7-8 breathing. It's similar to box breathing, but with a slightly different rhythm. Here's how it works. Inhale through your nose for 4 seconds. Hold your breath for 7 seconds. Then exhale through your mouth for 8 seconds. This method helps to further activate your body's relaxation response and can be especially useful when you're feeling anxious or overwhelmed. Practice this for a few minutes whenever you need to reset, and you'll notice a significant difference in how calm and clear your mind feels. The Stoics believed that we should train our minds to remain calm in the face of challenges, and deep breathing is one of the simplest yet most effective ways to do that. By practicing deep breathing regularly, you're training yourself to respond to stress with calmness and clarity, rather than panic and overthinking. It's a practical tool that aligns perfectly with the Stoic philosophy of focusing on what you can control, in this case, your breath, and letting go of the rest. Here's a quick challenge for you. The next time you catch yourself overthinking or feeling overwhelmed, pause and take 3 deep breaths. Just 3. Pay attention to how your body feels as you breathe in and out. You'll be surprised at how much calmer and more centered you feel after just a few moments of focused breathing. This simple practice can make a world of difference in how you handle stress, anxiety, and mental clutter throughout your day. In conclusion, deep breathing is one of the most powerful tools you can use to reset your mind and detox from overthinking. It's easy to do, available at any moment, and incredibly effective at calming your nervous system and bringing you back to the present. By incorporating deep breathing into your daily routine, you'll be better equipped to handle life's challenges with calm, clarity, and focus. So the next time your mind starts racing, remember, take a deep breath, reset, and return to the present moment. 8. Pick your battles. Choose wisely what's worth your time and energy. One of the most valuable lessons in life, and certainly one that Stoicism emphasizes, is knowing when to engage and when to let go. We all face countless challenges and confrontations in our daily lives. But the truth is, not every battle is worth fighting. This is where the wisdom of picking your battles comes into play. Learning how to wisely choose where to invest your energy and when to walk away can save you from unnecessary stress, overthinking, and mental exhaustion. This principle is about making sure that your time, effort, and emotional energy are spent on things that truly matter. The Stoics were masters at this. They believed that we should always focus our efforts on what we can control and let go of the rest. Epictetus famously taught that we should focus on our own behavior and mindset, rather than getting caught up in external events or other people's opinions. This aligns perfectly with the idea of picking your battles. You don't have to engage in every argument, defend yourself against every criticism, or fix every problem. Instead, you can choose which challenges are worth your time and energy and let go of the rest. Let's dive into a real-life example. Think about a typical workday where you're juggling multiple tasks, managing relationships with co-workers, and trying to meet deadlines. At some point, a disagreement arises. Maybe a co-worker disagrees with how you handled a project, or someone sends an email that rubs you the wrong way. In that moment, it's easy to feel the urge to respond defensively or engage in a back-and-forth debate. But before you do, take a step back and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will engaging in this argument lead to a productive outcome, or will it just drain you? Often, we get pulled into conflicts that don't actually matter in the long run, wasting valuable mental energy on issues that won't affect our goals or happiness. Here's where Stoicism offers a powerful perspective. By picking your battles, you're focusing on what you can control, your response, your mindset, and your actions. You can't control how others behave, but you can control whether or not you engage. This practice is especially important in relationships, whether personal or professional. Not every disagreement needs to be addressed, and not every slight needs to be corrected. By choosing your battles wisely, you maintain your mental peace and prevent unnecessary stress. One of the key questions the Stoics asked themselves was, is this within my control? Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to keep his thoughts and actions aligned with what he could influence, rather than getting bogged down by things outside his power. He wrote in Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This quote is a powerful reminder that strength comes not from fighting every battle, but from understanding which ones are worth your time and energy. So how do you know which battles are worth fighting? Here are a few practical tips, inspired by Stoic philosophy. 1. Assess the outcome. Before engaging in a conflict or confrontation, ask yourself what the likely outcome will be. Will addressing the issue lead to a meaningful change, or will it just stir up more negativity? If the outcome won't improve your situation or lead to a positive result, it's probably not worth engaging. 2. Consider the long-term impact. Will this issue matter in a week, a month, or a year? Many of the things we stress about in the moment turn out to be insignificant in the grand scheme of things. By focusing on the long-term impact, you can prioritize what truly deserves your attention. 3. Evaluate your energy. Every conflict requires mental and emotional energy. Before engaging, consider whether you have the capacity to handle the situation without draining yourself. If you're already feeling overwhelmed, it might be best to let it go and save your energy for more important matters. 4. Align with your values. Stoicism teaches us to live in accordance with our values. Before engaging in a battle, ask yourself if it aligns with your core values and if it's a reflection of the person you want to be. If engaging doesn't serve your personal growth or integrity, it's probably not worth your time. Here's another example. Let's say you're having a disagreement with a friend about a relatively minor issue. Maybe they made a comment that bothered you, or you don't see eye to eye on a particular topic. In the heat of the moment, it might feel important to prove your point or correct them. But if you step back and ask yourself if this argument will strengthen or weaken your relationship, you might realize that it's better to let it go. Choosing not to engage in every disagreement doesn't mean you're avoiding conflict. It means you're prioritizing the health of your relationships and your own mental well-being. Picking your battles also applies to how we manage our daily tasks and responsibilities. We live in a world that values busyness and multitasking, but the Stoics believed in the power of focus and simplicity. Instead of trying to do everything at once, they encouraged us to focus on what's truly important and let go of the rest. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, wrote about the importance of living deliberately and not scattering our attention across too many tasks. He said, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." This speaks to the idea that when we try to engage in too many battles, whether it's conflicts or tasks, we end up spreading ourselves too thin and accomplishing little. In your personal life, this might look like saying no to certain commitments that don't align with your goals or values. It could mean letting go of the need to always be right in a disagreement, or deciding not to take on additional responsibilities when you're already feeling overwhelmed. The key is to recognize that not everything is worth your time and energy, and that by focusing on what truly matters, you'll be more effective and at peace. Let's talk about the emotional benefits of picking your battles. When you stop engaging in every conflict or stressor that comes your way, you protect your emotional energy. You prevent yourself from getting dragged into unnecessary drama or negativity, which reduces stress and helps you maintain a sense of calm. This is especially important for mental detox because it allows you to clear away the emotional clutter that can accumulate when you're constantly engaging in conflicts or trying to manage too many things at once. Finally, Picking your battles helps you stay aligned with the Stoic principle of living in accordance with nature. The Stoics believed that we should strive to live in harmony with the world around us, accepting what we cannot change and focusing on what we can. By choosing which battles to fight, you're living in alignment with this principle, focusing your energy on the things that matter and letting go of the rest. In conclusion, learning to pick your battles is a powerful way to detox your mind and reduce overthinking. Not every conflict or challenge is worth your time and energy, and by focusing on what truly matters, you can maintain your mental peace and achieve more with less effort. The next time you're faced with a difficult situation or confrontation, pause and ask yourself, is this worth my energy? If the answer is no, walk away with confidence, knowing that you've chosen the path of mental clarity and peace. 9. Do less, achieve more, focus on fewer tasks, but with greater impact. In a world that glorifies multitasking and constant productivity, it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that doing more is the key to success. We fill our to-do lists with endless tasks, push ourselves to be constantly busy, and then wonder why we feel burnt out and overwhelmed. But here's a truth that the Stoics understood well. Doing less with focus leads to greater results. This idea of focusing on fewer tasks, but doing them with purpose and intention, is a powerful way to detox your mind and stop overthinking. The Stoics didn't believe in mindlessly chasing after more. Instead, they emphasized the importance of living with intention and clarity, focusing on what truly matters. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This quote reflects the Stoic belief in aligning your actions with your values and priorities. By applying this principle to your daily life, you can avoid the mental clutter that comes from trying to do too many things at once and focus on the few things that will actually move the needle in your life. One of the reasons we get caught up in overthinking is because we're constantly juggling too many tasks. When your mind is filled with dozens of things you need to do, it becomes difficult to focus on any one thing. You start thinking about all the things you haven't done yet, worrying about whether you'll get everything finished, and doubting your ability to manage it all. This mental overload leads to stress, anxiety, and ultimately, burnout. The solution? Simplify. The Stoics were advocates of simplicity and minimalism, not just in material possessions, but also in thought and action. They believed in cutting away the unnecessary so that you can focus on what is essential. Seneca, one of the most prominent Stoic philosophers, wrote extensively about the dangers of busyness and how it distracts us from what's truly important. He said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." This quote reminds us that time is our most valuable resource, and if we waste it on trivial tasks or distractions, we miss out on the things that matter most. Let's break down how this principle of doing less but achieving more works in practice. Imagine you're at work with a long to-do list in front of you. You've got emails to respond to, meetings to attend, reports to write, and countless other small tasks that seem urgent. It's tempting to dive into everything at once, trying to check off as many tasks as possible, but by doing so, you risk spreading yourself too thin and not giving your full attention to the tasks that really matter. Instead, take a moment to pause and identify the most important tasks, the ones that will have the greatest impact. These are often the tasks that align with your long-term goals or that contribute directly to your success. By focusing on these high-impact tasks, you're able to make meaningful progress without getting bogged down by the smaller, less significant items on your list. This approach not only helps you get more done, but also reduces the mental clutter that comes from trying to juggle too many things at once. Here's a practical exercise you can try. At the start of each day, look at your to-do list and ask yourself, what are the top 3 tasks that will make the biggest difference today? These are the tasks that deserve your full focus and energy. Once you've identified them, commit to completing those tasks before moving on to anything else. You'll find that by doing less, you're actually able to achieve more because you're focusing on what truly matters. This approach also ties into the Stoic principle of focusing on what you can control. When you try to do too much, you inevitably take on things that are outside of your control, whether it's managing other people's expectations, responding to every request, or trying to meet unrealistic deadlines. By narrowing your focus to a few key tasks, you bring your attention back to what you can control: your actions, your effort, and your ability to prioritize. Another important aspect of this principle is learning to say no. The Stoics believed in living with purpose, and part of that means knowing when to say no to tasks or commitments that don't align with your goals or values. Seneca wrote, "He who is everywhere is nowhere." This idea applies to our modern lives as much as it did in ancient times. When you try to be everywhere and do everything, you end up spreading yourself too thin, achieving little, and feeling exhausted. By saying no to unnecessary tasks or distractions, you free up your time and energy to focus on what really matters. Let's consider a real-life example. Think about a time when you were juggling multiple projects at work or in your personal life. Maybe you were trying to finish a work assignment, plan an event, and manage your household responsibilities all at once. The pressure to do it all likely led to stress and possibly even mistakes. But what if, instead, you had focused on just 1 or 2 of those tasks at a time, giving them your full attention and doing them well before moving on to the next? Chances are you would have felt more in control, less stressed, and more accomplished. By doing less, you also give yourself the space to think more clearly and creatively. When your mind isn't cluttered with dozens of tasks, you're able to approach challenges with fresh ideas and greater focus. This is why many successful people, from entrepreneurs to athletes, practice this principle of doing less, but doing it with intention. They know that by concentrating their energy on a few key priorities, they're able to achieve more in the long run. The Stoics would remind us that our time and energy are finite resources. Just as we wouldn't waste money on things we don't need, we shouldn't waste our time and energy on tasks that don't bring us closer to our goals or align with our values. By focusing on fewer tasks, you're not only more effective, but you're also more aligned with the Stoic principle of living a deliberate, purposeful life. Here's another practical tip. Consider using the Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. This principle suggests that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. In other words, a small number of tasks or actions are responsible for the majority of your success. By identifying and focusing on these high-impact tasks, you can achieve more with less effort. This is the essence of doing less but achieving more. In conclusion, doing less doesn't mean being lazy or avoiding responsibility. It means being strategic about where you invest your time and energy. By focusing on fewer tasks, but doing them with intention and purpose, you reduce mental clutter, prevent burnout, and ultimately achieve greater results. The next time you're feeling overwhelmed by your to-do list, Remember the Stoic wisdom of simplicity. Less is more. Focus on what matters, let go of the rest, and watch how much more you can accomplish with a clearer, more focused mind. Pretend your mind isn't a storage unit. Stop filling it with unnecessary worries. We tend to treat our minds like storage units, filling them with every thought, worry, and piece of information we come across. It's as if we're constantly trying to hold on to everything, every conversation, every task, every future concern, just in case we need it later. But here's the thing, your mind isn't meant to be a storage unit. When you overload it with unnecessary worries and mental clutter, you end up feeling anxious, overwhelmed, and distracted. The Stoics understood this well and taught us to focus on what truly matters while letting go of the rest. One of the key principles in Stoic philosophy is the idea of focusing on the present moment and not getting bogged down by what might happen in the future. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, constantly reminded himself to let go of unnecessary worries. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." This quote speaks to the heart of the issue. Most of the worries we carry around are self-imposed, and we have the ability to release them. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you've been given a big project at work, and immediately your mind starts to race with worries. What if I don't meet the deadline? What if my boss doesn't like my work? What if I make a mistake? These are all hypothetical scenarios, things that haven't even happened yet. And yet you're treating them as if they're real. Your mind becomes a storage unit for all these what-ifs, leaving you feeling anxious and mentally overloaded. This is exactly the kind of mental clutter that Stoicism encourages us to let go of. The Stoics taught that we should focus on what we can control, our actions, our thoughts, and our responses to situations, and release everything else. In the case of the work project, what can you control? You can control the effort you put into the project, the quality of your work, and how you manage your time. You can't control the outcome, your boss's reaction, or every potential mistake that might occur. By letting go of those uncontrollable worries, you free up mental space to focus on doing your best in the present moment. One powerful Stoic practice that helps with this is journaling. Writing down your thoughts, worries, and concerns allows you to get them out of your head and onto paper, where you can examine them more clearly. Marcus Aurelius himself used journaling as a way to process his thoughts and remind himself of Stoic principles. When you write down your worries, you can ask yourself, is this something I can control? If the answer is no, then it's time to let it go. By regularly journaling, you'll start to notice patterns in your thinking and learn to release the unnecessary worries that weigh you down. Another Stoic tool for clearing mental clutter is negative visualization. While it might seem counterintuitive, imagining the worst-case scenario can actually help you stop overthinking. The Stoics practice negative visualization as a way to prepare themselves for potential challenges and reduce the fear of uncertainty. By imagining the worst that could happen, you take away its power. Once you've confronted the worst in your mind, you realize that it's not as bad as you imagined, and you can move forward without letting those worries control you. For example, let's say you're worried about an upcoming presentation. You're filled with what-if thoughts. What if I stumble over my words? What if the audience doesn't like what I have to say? What if I forget something important? Instead of letting these worries spiral out of control, try practicing negative visualization. Imagine the worst-case scenario. You stumble over a few words, Or perhaps the presentation doesn't go as smoothly as you hoped. Now ask yourself, what's the worst that will happen? Will it ruin your career? Probably not. Will people think less of you? Maybe for a moment, but it's unlikely to have any lasting impact. By facing the worst-case scenario head-on, you strip it of its power and stop it from taking up unnecessary space in your mind. This practice ties back to the Stoic principle of acceptance. The Stoics believed that we should accept life as it comes, without resisting or fearing what might happen. By accepting the possibility of things going wrong, you reduce the mental clutter that comes from trying to control every outcome. As Epictetus famously said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you accept that you can't control everything, you free yourself from the burden of carrying around unnecessary worries. One practical tip for applying this in your daily life is to create a worry list. Each time you catch yourself worrying about something, write it down on your list. Then, at the end of the day, review your list and ask yourself, how many of these worries actually came true? More often than not, you'll find that most of your worries were unfounded. This exercise helps you see that many of the things you worry about are hypothetical and unnecessary, and it encourages you to let go of those mental burdens. It's also important to remember that your mind needs rest. Just like your body needs sleep to recharge, your mind needs downtime to process and reset. When you treat your mind like a storage unit, constantly filling it with worries and information, you deprive it of the rest it needs to function at its best. The Stoics understood the importance of mental rest and encouraged practices like mindfulness, meditation, and reflection to help clear the mind and maintain inner peace. In modern life, we often feel pressured to be constantly thinking, planning, and worrying. We're bombarded with information from the news, social media, and our daily interactions, all of which contribute to mental clutter. But by treating your mind like a tool for action and decision-making, rather than a storage unit for every worry and thought, you can free up mental space and regain clarity. This is what the Stoics were getting at when they emphasized the importance of mental discipline and focus. In conclusion, your mind isn't a storage unit, and it doesn't need to hold on to every worry or piece of information. By focusing on what you can control, letting go of unnecessary worries, and practicing Stoic techniques like journaling and negative visualization, you can detox your mind and stop overthinking. Remember, you have the power to decide which thoughts deserve space in your mind. So the next time you catch yourself holding on to unnecessary worries, ask yourself, is this really worth storing? If the answer is no, it's time to let it go. So we've covered 10 practical Stoic strategies to help you detox your mind and stop overthinking. These aren't just abstract ideas, but real, actionable steps you can apply in your daily life. Whether it's letting go of what you can't control, embracing moments of silence, or focusing on fewer tasks with more intention, each of these practices is designed to help you create more mental clarity and peace. The beauty of Stoicism is that it's not about escaping life's challenges, but about developing the mental strength to handle them with resilience and calm. You don't need to change everything all at once. Start with just one of these strategies. Maybe today you'll focus on filtering your thoughts, or perhaps you'll reduce your social media time to create more space for real-life experiences. Whatever you choose, remember that small, consistent changes can lead to a big difference over time. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who could use these insights. We're building a community here focused on personal growth, resilience, and living a more intentional life through the wisdom of Stoicism. And we'd love to have you on that journey with us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.